This is the Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Kerry Jr. II. There are a ton of attractions in downtown Detroit. Multiple music venues, concert halls, all of the city's sports arenas are within walking distance of each other. It feels like there will never be a day when downtown will ever be silent, when there isn't a concert or a sporting event or a festival. And while it may seem like a real pain to navigate all those events and all of that activity, the economic activity is a real gain for the city. It attracts more people to Detroit. It attracts them to shop, to eat, and to entertain themselves in the city. But it's important to note that maintaining that entertainment district comes at a cost. And city officials are exploring ways to make all of this activity pay for itself. In September, Citizens Research Council of Michigan released a report that explored a ticket tax to generate revenue for the city. It's an additional tax on the ticket to events and entertainment in the city that, according to the report, could generate up to $50 million annually. Now, this raises some questions, like which businesses would be taxed, or how much money would the tickets be after the tax, and how will the money that's generated from the tax be spent? Pete Saunders is an urban planner. He's an author and the editor of the Substack, The Cornerside Yard. He's from Detroit, but he currently lives in Chicago, which already has a version of this tax. And so we are going to discuss the possibilities and compare and contrast what it looks like in Chicago to what it could look like in Detroit. We also want to hear from you now. What would you want to see? Would you want to accept a tax on your concert tickets if it generates more revenue for the city? Call us up at 313-577-1019. Pete Saunders, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So I want to set some groundwork here with your expertise and establish some familiarity. What, as an urban planner, what is the ultimate goal of being a planner? How do you know that you've planned well?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I should probably say that as an urban planner, I had a mentor who probably summed it up pretty well. He says, our wins and our accomplishments are not necessarily measured in quarters or in annual reports, but in generations, meaning we're hoping to set the standards for what growth and development looks like in a long-term basis, and helping to establish communities that have the right balance and the right design to be successful communities for everybody.
I see. What does successful mean, though? There's no specific metric? It sounds like it's kind of unless it's families that stay put in the city.
Yeah, it's really up to planners to listen to the residents and the businesses and the stakeholders and everyone who lives or works in the city to figure out what success is. And we're the ones who get together and convene those groups, put them in a place to tell us what they would like to see in communities, and incorporate that into what the future plan for the community would be.
When's the last time you visited Detroit, Pete? Have you seen the activity that's been going on in the city?
Yes. My last time there was last year, in fact, last summer. And I've seen a lot of the activity, quite impressed. I go back frequently. I'm there probably at least once, twice a year. But I've seen tremendous revitalization, particularly downtown. And it's fascinating. Having grown up in the city in the 70s and 80s, I'm just astounded by what I see in the city right now, downtown. And I understand how it hasn't expanded further out beyond the city downtown boundaries right now, downtown, midtown areas. But I do believe that this is a critical first step towards bringing the city back.
Yeah, it's certainly got a lot of people out and about downtown. And now we're looking at some ideas on how to generate some more revenue, use that to generate some more revenue for the city. So as I iterated, as I stated in the intro, we're talking about a ticket tax here.
Right.
Can you briefly explain what a ticket tax is and kind of what it does?
Yeah. A ticket tax basically is a tax that's put on the tickets that are sold for amusement or events that are taking place within the city. A number of cities, and I've looked at the Michigan Citizens Research Council report about this. A number of cities have done this for many, many years. I think I saw that Chicago, initiated their first amusement tax in the 1940s. I think it's 1947. So a number of cities have done this for an awfully long time, and it's been integrated into the budgetary fabric of everything that they do. It usually covers some of the public safety and infrastructure needs that come with having big events. There's the extra overtime for police and traffic control, things like that. In Chicago's case, they recently added a streaming function to the tax that basically said that bars and restaurants that were showing events that were taking place in Chicago would also tax the people who are showing that. So that comes through cable TV or through the streaming services that provide that service. So that's a little bit different. So and that's actually been something that has been a large boon to Chicago. Chicago is pulling some $300+ million a year because of that and the ticket tax that they have. But the Citizens Research Council decided not to look at that, and I think rightfully so, because as I read their report, they said that is a tax that is mostly put on Detroit residents as they go to different bars and restaurants to be able to do that. So they saw that as a consumption tax on residents that is probably not as effective as it would be to put it on people who are coming from out of town to come to visit and attend events.
Right. Now, you were talking, too, about how this tax, like it would pay for, extra police at these events, all that kind of stuff. And then also in the report, we're going to get into it a little bit more deeply, too, but just as we were mentioning kind of what this money could be used for briefly, it talks about potentially assisting or reducing property taxes for citizens in the city of Detroit, too. I guess my question for you is, what other possibilities can it be? Is it just paying for the events themselves? Can you generate enough revenue to make some significant changes with a ticket tax like this for a city?
Yeah, I think it is something that can be a significant revenue generator. I wouldn't look at it as a brand new revenue stream as much as I would as a revenue enhancer. I think it has the potential to lower property taxes on residents. I know that Detroit has some of the highest property taxes of any city in the country. And I know that, there are people who are looking for that kind of relief. And I think that that's definitely something that should be pursued by the city council there. But I think that this is something that is helping the city to take care of costs that they had to eat in other ways and putting some money aside to be able to potentially reduce property taxes later on.
Have you heard from Chicago residents who may have been against the tax at first, but now that they're seeing what's taken place, they're kind of in favor of the tax? I guess, how have you seen people's understanding of whether or not that tax even exists or whether they even know of the tax shift as they learn more about it?
Yeah. Well, like I said, Chicago's had the tax for a very long time. And as I did my research on it, there was pushback. Actually, the tax was first instituted in the late 1940s, but it really started to tick upward in the 70s and 80s. And then that's when there was a lot of pushback at that time, particularly from suburbanites who were saying, hey, we're supporting you guys already. Why are you putting this additional tax? And they said, on us to be able to come into into Chicago. So there was pushback at that time, but that was also a time when there was a fairly deep divide between the city and suburb on a number of issues, very much like in Detroit, as I remember it as a kid. But that has been something that's been received well, I think, since then, and people have understood that it's going to cost more for that ticket. It's going to cost more for concessions. It's going to cost more when they go to different events, and it's the cost of doing of entertainment in a city like Chicago.
That's fair. Especially folks. What about the people who live in the suburbs? Have they changed their minds? Folks who were like, "Hey, I'm kind of fitting the bill for this." Have you seen folks come around and say, "I understand now why this needed to be instituted"?
Well, what's interesting now is that the Chicago Bears are looking at a new position in the suburbs, a new stadium that actually could start as soon as next year, if possible. If things go right for the Bears. The village of Arlington Heights in the suburbs, there was a lot of pushback, and they said, we can't have that kind of event space in our community. We're too small. And there was a lot of pushback about that. But they've incorporated, I think, they have had for a long time an international Arlington Raceway racetrack, a horse racing track. So they were accustomed to having that kind of activity taking place there. So, but residents were looking at this as something that brought more people more often and pushed back. But they've been able to get over that hump. Bears were able to successfully negotiate with Arlington Heights on the deal there. So it's moving forward. I think there are suburbanites who are understanding that going to some of these events, like I said, comes with a cost. It's not free. It's not simply the cost of the event that you are going to, but it's paying for the facilities that are being used and the services that are being used because additional people are coming into the city.
You're listening to The Metro on 101.9 WDET. I'm Kerry Jr. II. My guest is Pete Saunders. He's an urban planner and the editor of the Cornerside Yard Substack. There he writes about all things urban planning, and we're discussing the Citizens Research Council of Michigan's report that evaluates a ticket tax on events in the city of Detroit. And we want to hear from you if you're listening, since you're listening and want to weigh in on this conversation. We want to know, should an additional tax be put on concerts and sports tickets in Detroit? That might mean those Lions tickets go up. That might mean those Tigers tickets go up just a little bit more. We want to hear from you. Call us 313-577-1019. So I kind of want to get a little bit into the research report here, Pete. And a major question about this is kind of what kind of venues or events are going to be subject to that tax. I know the report provides a list of exemptions and says that the tax would apply to kind of any event that does not fall within that criteria. And so, for example, there's 501c3 nonprofits, there's government institutions, and then there's like capacity limitations and all that sort of stuff. So, like I said before, prices for major venues, for major concerts like the Aretha Amphitheater, are examples of places where the tickets could be affected by a tax like this. I guess, is there just a concern that this could discourage people from attending events like this?
Well, I think most of these have generally gone towards major private organizations, private events. They've mostly gone to, major league sports activities, concert.
Are you there, Pete? Hello? Hello, Pete, are you there? Well, while he's there, we're going to continue to talk a little bit about what this report entails. But as we were talking about, there were some specific businesses. There's a criteria of exemptions that qualify certain businesses here. And I'm going to talk about them a little bit and kind of what that might feel like until we can get Pete back on the phone. So 501c3 nonprofit organizations would be a part of these exemptions, like I said, there are venues. The capacity of those venues would be 400 or fewer attendees that wouldn't be subject to that tax. So there are certain venues that you could go to that are much smaller that wouldn't have the tax. And it's not every single place out there that would. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, I said in the intro, too, of this segment that this could generate up to potentially $50 million annually. And what that means is, depending on the tax rate that they apply, it would then we would generate a certain amount of money. So some of the examples they give in the report here, the 3% rate could be $14.1 million annually. It could go to a 7% rate where you'd get $32.8%, $8 million annually. And then the 10%, which is the highest rate that's proposed in this report, would go all the way up to $50 million there. So that's kind of an idea of what you would expect to pay on top of a ticket in order to generate the type of money that we're talking about for the city. I've got a caller on the line here. We're going to go to the phones. I've got Eastside John on the phone. John?
Good morning.
Hey.
So I had a couple questions.
Sure.
So we use a lot of resources for some of these events downtown, and we close off streets, and I want to know how much is offset by the venue that is doing that to have the extra traffic support and police and what have you.
Well, first off, John, I don't know that I'm the perfect person to answer this question for you specifically, but I want to make sure I understand your question. You want to know about when there's a large event downtown, let's say Fox Theater, and they block the road, what resources are applied to do that? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and probably more specifically to the stadiums. They do close off some of the roads around the Fox. And for disclosure, I actually work for most of the venues. But
right.
I also live in the city, and I notice that a lot of times when there's stuff going on downtown, our police resources are affected in the neighborhoods. And I just wonder how much extra police and what have you it takes to facilitate these large events, and are the venues paying for that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we do have Pete, our guest, back here, and he might be able to get an answer for you. Pete, John wants to know. Oh, there you go. Great, we got you back. John wants to know, I guess, essentially how much resources are allocated to having that extra kind of security around major sports venues when events are happening, and whether the venue is paying for that, who's kind of paying for that. Do you have an answer for that?
Well, it's going to vary. It's going to vary by city. It's going to vary by situation. Usually when there are street closures, that is something that is handled by city workers. They'll block the streets. There might be some agreements in some cases where the city and the team or organization that's sponsoring an event is contributing to some of the costs there. I know that, for example, the United Center, which is surrounded by lots of residential areas nearby, will shut down some streets, and the owners of the United Center, which are the owners of the Chicago Blackhawks family, they will contribute to some of the pay, and then the city will pay for the other for the balance of that. So it's to be negotiated. So it would be something that would be split, I would think, between those two organizations. But it's going to vary in terms of the cost and how far and how wide they want to have those kinds of activities go.
And something like this, a ticket tax, could contribute to that. The revenue generated from this, could that pay for that?
Yes, it could. Yes, it could. It could definitely pay for that. It could reduce that cost that the city has to contribute to it currently. And it would be something that, again, if done correctly, could pay for itself.
I see. Okay, I want to go back to the phones real quick, Pete. We've got Tony in Detroit. Hey, Tony, I want to know, what do you think? Should there be a ticket tax for entertainment events in the city?
Good morning. I'm in agreement with there needing to be more funding because of the costs that happen, but I don't think that this ticket tax should just come solely on the individual purchasing the ticket. venues like Ticketmaster, for example, are already collecting a ridiculous amount of money simply for us clicking and purchasing our tickets through them.
Yeah.
So couldn't events that are being held in the city, couldn't some of that fall back on them? As a Lions season ticket holder, my tickets have gone up considerably in the last 2 years, almost 60 and then almost 40% just over 2 seasons.
Okay.
I would
go ahead. Finish
be
that.
able to afford it being higher.
That's fair. Yeah, there are definitely fees online. Thank you for that call and for weighing in there, Tony. Pete, can you address that? How have online ticket sellers like Ticketmaster factored into Chicago's ticket tax? They're notably making a lot of money, and they're under fire for monopolizing the resale of market for tickets.
Right. And not only have ticket sellers like Ticketmaster been a part of the mix here, but also aftermarket tickets that are sold, and people are looking at opportunities to try to. That's been something that I think in the Chicago area that has been something that's been approached as well, going after the aftermarket ticket sellers to get some tax revenue from that as well. I agree. I think that ticket sellers like a Ticketmaster or other organizations like that would be definitely somebody that is in the mix. I'm not certain to what extent that they are in the Chicago. Unfortunately, I'm just not that familiar in some of the specifics of the Chicago amusement tax. Mm-hmm. But I do think that from a equity standpoint, fairness standpoint, I think it would make sense to have the ticket sellers who bear some of the burden of that cost as well, and not have it go completely to the purchasers of tickets.
And so before we wrap up here, I want to know about the impact the tax may have had on lower middle income earners. What about folks in Chicago who, already are trying to make ends meet? Having a tax added onto an event that they might have gone to or want to go to might make it less accessible for them. What's that been like in Chicago?
Well, I have to admit, it is an expensive proposition to go to any kind of amusement event in any large city. I think that it's become something that's, as your last caller just mentioned, very expensive, not just on the ticket side, but on everything else associated with it. It makes it more difficult, yes. But I think we also have to look at this from the standpoint of what it means for the city. This is not something that they're doing just simply to raise revenue for other reasons. It's really directed towards trying to cover the costs for the additional services that they have to provide here. So, and that's not cheap. Unfortunately, it means that even people like me cannot go to all the sporting events that we would like to go to, or other music events. But it's the cost of living in our society.
Yeah, those prices are high. There's tickets, there's concerts on my calendar now that I'm trying to figure out how to budget for right now. So
right,
it's just trying to go. You already know you're pinching the pennies to make it happen.
Right.
All right, Pete Saunders is an urban planner, an author, and the editor of the Substack, The Cornerside Yard. Pete, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this ticket tax and the potential of raising some revenue for the city.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Coming up, a conversation with Detroit musician Tariq Gardner about how he developed his sound. Stay right there. We'll be right back on the Metro.